I remember exactly the sound of the ice in the metal bucket when everything turned into a joke. It was Saturday night, crowded restaurant, warm yellow lights, people taking pictures of their plates like they were works of art. My father raised his wine glass, tapped it with a spoon and called the table's attention like he was on stage. "So that's it," he said, with that smile that always announced trouble. Family gathered to toast the trip of our dreams. Everyone clapped. My mother dabbed away a tear I knew was more theater than emotion. Bruna, my younger sister, shifted in her chair, her boyfriend already filming everything for Instagram. Kaio, my brother, lifted his beer bottle, making too much noise. I sat there, between them, napkin crumpled in my hand, trying to believe that, for once, I was part of it. 2 weeks earlier, my mother had texted, "Daughter, we're planning a family trip at the end of the year. We really need you. We'll talk better later, okay? Love you." I read, "We really need you," and, as always, understood, "We really need your money." But that day, just that day, I wanted to believe maybe it wasn't just that. "And the best part," my father went on, "is that it's going to be just family. Only those who've always been together, right? The ones who are really from home." He looked around the table, making that dramatic pause he loved. Bruna laughed too early, as if she already knew the punchline. Kaio bit his lip, trying to hold back anticipation. I smiled, waiting to hear my name somewhere in that speech. But it never came. We decided, he leaned back in his chair, theatrical, that this is a trip for those who never turned their backs on family. So, he turned his face toward me. The restaurant seemed quieter than it really was. "Anna," he said, in an almost affectionate tone, "you don't need to worry about anything. Not about tickets, not about lodging, not about anything, because you're not going." The table exploded in laughter. Bruna burst out laughing, mouth wide open, hand slapping the table. Kaio gave that half smile, uncomfortable but still laughing. My mother gave my father a light slap on the shoulder, pretending to scold him. "Oh, Paolo," she said. "You're terrible." But she was smiling. A lot. I still hadn't understood. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to follow the joke. My father took a sip of wine, savoring his own cruelty. "That's what I mean, daughter," he said, relaxed. "Family trip. But in the last few years, it seems like you've had another family, right? Your work, your friends, your life. We didn't want to disturb you." Bruna chimed in. "And also so you don't complain everything's expensive, that there's your household bills, blah blah. You're always saying you don't have time, don't have money, so there. One less thing to worry about." More laughter. I felt the blood drain from my face. It wasn't just a joke. It was a message, a public note. I looked around. Other tables, other people, other birthdays happening. Candles being blown out, pictures being taken, toasts being made. Our table was just one more in the middle of that, but for me, it felt like spotlights were on my shame. "Okay, guys," I forced a smile. "You've already teased me enough. Now tell me the truth." My mother looked straight into my eyes. "The truth, Anna," she said, adjusting the necklace on her neck, "is that we got tired of being your plan B. Do you remember how many Sundays you left us talking to ourselves because you were tired? Remember how many family lunches you skipped? The trip is for the ones who never gave up on family. And you," she shrugged, "you seem so much better off away from us, right?" The word, gave up, kept echoing. I didn't reply. I didn't explode. I didn't cry. I just clenched the napkin, took a deep breath and let silence do what I had never allowed before. Speak for me. They laughed a bit more, as if it was all just an overdone little joke. The waiter came to take dessert orders. My father asked for a molten chocolate cake. Bruna, cheesecake. Kaio, pistachio ice cream. No one asked if I wanted anything. And that was the moment, between laughter and wineglasses, that I understood. To them, I was useful, not family. I kept my wallet on my lap, waited for the waiter to come back with the bill and, when he put the brown leather folder on the table, my father pointed at me with his chin. "Give it to her," he said. The waiter obeyed. I opened the folder. The bill was high, way too high for the kind of food we had ordered. "Split in 4 is perfect, right, guys?" my father commented. Bruna laughed. "Minus Anna's share, right? She's always complaining about bills." Kaio looked at me, with no courage to defend me. I closed the folder and handed it back to the waiter. "You can split it 3 ways, please," I said. "My share, tonight, is something else." And I kept my card in my pocket. The silence that followed was heavier than any laughter they'd let out in that restaurant. "Anna," My mother whispered, "What kind of disrespect is this?" I got up slowly. "Respect," I repeated, "is a funny thing. When you don't get it, at some point you stop giving it too." I grabbed my bag, my jacket, and walked out. The clatter of cutlery, glasses, other people's conversations, everything blurred together as I walked to the door. Outside, the cold night air hit my face like a reality check. My phone vibrated before I even reached the car. "You just embarrassed your entire family over a restaurant bill. Congratulations." Message from my mother. I locked the screen, got in the car, started the engine, and for the first time in years, I didn't cry. Not this time. Instead of tears, something else came. Clarity. My name is Anna Paula, I'm 34 years old, and I'm a physical therapist in a public hospital. My world, until not long ago, was very simple. Patients, corridors that smell like rubbing alcohol, reheated coffee in plastic cups, 12-hour shifts, back pain and the constant feeling that I needed to fix everyone. Everyone but myself. I grew up hearing that family is everything. That blood matters more than anything. That mom and dad always know what's best. That family fights get solved inside the house. That airing dirty laundry in public is betrayal. I also grew up being the daughter who solved things. Electric bill late? Call Anna. Car trouble? Call Anna. Internet down? Call Anna. Card declined at the supermarket? Call Anna. You're the only one who has her head on straight, my mother would repeat. You're the only responsible one, my father would add. It was a compliment, but it came with an invisible leash. I was the responsible one, therefore it was my duty to pay, fix, save. When I started working at the hospital, still as an intern, my father asked me, "Daughter, open a joint account with me, just to make things easier, you know? We deposit the household money there, pay the bills, manage it together." "You're so organized." I hesitated. "Dad, do we really need that?" He sighed, offended. "Look at this, Lucia," he said to my mother, "we can't even trust our own daughter anymore." And then came an entire speech about ingratitude, about everything we've done for you, about if we wanted to hurt you, we already would have. I gave in. I always gave in. The household account was created on a Monday morning in a cold neighborhood bank branch. I signed papers, documents, authorizations. The manager smiled and talked about family unity. In the first months, I actually believed it was something shared. I deposited part of my salary every month. My mother also deposited a bit. My father, sometimes. The money went out to pay fees, electricity, water, my grandmother's medicine. After a while, I stopped checking every statement. Life got busy. I trusted them. When needed, my mother would text, "Daughter, the gas bill came really high. Take a look at the household account, see if you can give it a boost." I transferred. Sometimes I didn't even look at the balance first. And that went on for years. The humiliation at the restaurant wasn't lightning out of a clear sky. It was the storm that finally made visible all the cracks I'd been pretending not to see. There was the day the printer at their house broke and my dad called me in the middle of my shift. "If you see a patient and don't have paper, what do you do?" "We need paper too, you know." There was the day Bruna had a birthday and I paid for the cake, snacks, decorations, the makeshift DJ, the new dress. "I'll pay you back later, sis," she said. She never did. There was the day Kaio crashed the car in front of their house and my father showed up at the hospital with him, desperate, begging. "If you could advance that money we agreed on to change cars, now would be a good time." I didn't remember agreeing on anything, but I signed the check anyway. Without noticing, I built a life where I paid to have a seat at the table. And that night, at the restaurant, they told me that not even paying was enough. After that episode, I spent Sunday in silence. Emily, my college friend, the only person who really knew the full version of me, showed up at my place with cheese bread and a tub of brigadeiro. "Tell me," she said, "no small talk." I told her. Every sentence, every laugh, every look. She listened quietly, stirring the brigadeiro with a spoon as if that helped her swallow what I was saying. "I've told you this before, haven't I?" she finally said. "They don't see you as a daughter. They see you as a resource." I sighed. "They're my family, Em." "Family doesn't humiliate you like that," she shot back. "Family can make mistakes, but they don't stage a show to put you down in public." I opened my mouth to defend my parents. Closed it. I had no argument. "What are you going to do?" she asked, serious. I looked at the ceiling. Ran my hands over my face. My old instinct screamed the automatic answer. Swallow it, forgive, pretend everything's fine. But there was another voice now, small but firm. I don't know, I answered. But I know what I'm not going to do anymore. I'm not going to keep paying to get beaten. Emily leaned her head on the back of the couch, studying my face. Start by looking at where the money comes in and where it goes, she said. You always tell me about the household account, the joint account. Do you actually know what happens there? The truth? I didn't. On Monday, after my shift, I sat with my laptop at the kitchen table and opened online banking. Login, password, token. The screen took longer than usual to load. I felt my heart beating in my throat. Family account. Branch 4X. Account XXXXXX. The name already irritated me. Family account. I started scrolling through the statement. Last 90 days. Supermarket, pharmacy, bakery, hardware store, appliance store. A withdrawal of 600 reais at an ATM near my parents' house. Okay, normal. I scrolled further. A Pix transfer of 1,500 reais on a Friday night to a travel agency. Company name. I had no idea what it was. 2 days later, a hotel charge in Campos do Jordão. A high amount. Way too high. And no sign of deposits from my parents that month. I kept scrolling. Bruna's English course. Caio's gym. Uber. iFood. Rappi. A Pix to Claudia's salon. Another to Zay's bar. I felt a mix of nausea and anger. The household account hadn't been about the household in a long time. It was the account for the comfortable life I was funding without knowing. I clicked to see the current balance. The number stared back at me, cold. It wasn't the end of the world, but it was a lot more than I imagined. Then my eyes landed on a button in the top corner of the screen. Manage account holders. My name. My father's name. An option to change permissions. Another to block the card. Another to redefine who could move what. I closed the laptop. Not yet, I thought. Not yet. In the following days, my mother decided it was time to talk like adults. She called me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I only answered on Friday. Finally, she said when she heard my voice. I almost called the police to check if you were alive. I was working, Mom. She sighed, theatrical. You're always working but you never have money. Funny, right? I swallowed hard. What do you want? I want you to apologize to your father, she said bluntly. You put him in a very embarrassing position in front of everyone. He had to pay the bill alone. I almost laughed. He had to pay the bill at the restaurant where he humiliated me. Truly, what a tragedy. Stop it, Anna, her voice hardened. You know how he is, he talks too much but doesn't think. It's just how he is. Family is like that. One apologizes, the other too, and we move on. Who apologized for me? Silence. You know he doesn't mean any harm, she insisted. Besides, we have to sort some things out. There's the trip, there's the property tax, car maintenance, there's... Enough. I cut her off, feeling exhaustion run through me. I don't want to talk about money with you for a while. But, Anna, if you want to talk about respect, we can talk. If it's about bills, talk to the bank. She laughed without humor. You're really full of yourself now, huh? Just because you earn a bit more now. Don't forget who brought you into this world. I took a deep breath. I don't forget. At all. That's exactly why some things are going to change. I hung up before she could throw more guilt across the line. Minutes later, a message from my father. If your ingratitude turned into money, you wouldn't even have to work. We've always been family. You're the one who decided to become a stranger. If you keep up with this nonsense, forget you have a father and mother. I reread that sentence about 10 times. Forget you have a father and mother. Right there, I realized. The bond they thought only they could cut, I could cut too. The 10,000 reais withdrawal attempt happened 5 days later. I was in the hospital break room, eating cold leftovers, when my phone buzzed with a bank notification. Alert. Attempted withdrawal in the amount of 10 Brazilian reals, 00 from the family account. My stomach sank. I opened the banking app. The attempt had been denied due to insufficient funds. Even so, if the money had been there, it would have disappeared without a single heads up. I called the bank immediately. Good afternoon, Ana Paula, how can I help you? I want to block all cards and access to my joint account. Immediately, the agent asked to confirm my details, password, those security questions that suddenly made all the sense in the world. What was your first dog's name? What street did you grow up on? Family is all beautiful until it becomes security questions for stealing your peace. All set, Ms. Ana Paula, the agent said after a few minutes. The card linked to the joint account has been blocked. Anything else? I looked at the account name on the screen. Family account. Yes, I said. I want to change this account's name. She sounded confused. The account's name, ma'am? Yes. This label that appears for me. I can edit it, right? You can. What would you like to name it? I smiled for the first time that day. You can write, pay without me. She repeated it, as if tasting the words. Pay without me. Okay. It's been changed. When I hung up, I spent a while just looking at the screen. Pay without me. 3 words that summed up years of guilt, humiliation and invisible effort. I took a screenshot, sent it to my own email, as if I wanted to legally register that moment. Less than 10 minutes later, the family group chat started blowing up. Mom, what happened to the account? Kyle, who messed with this? Bruna, Anna, why can't I withdraw? My father, Anna Paula, pick up the phone now. My mother. I inhaled deeply, opened WhatsApp, clicked on the group. I sent only one image, the screenshot of the account with the new name and the failed withdrawal notice. No words, no explanation, silence, for about 3 minutes, then, the avalanche. Is this a joke? My father, you've lost your mind? Bruna, your mother needs that money. Kyle, you've lost it once and for all. I'm coming over. My father, I muted the group for 1 year. They didn't come that day. They came the next. It was late afternoon, the sky that undefined color between blue and gray. I was washing dishes, a podcast playing low on the speaker, when someone knocked on my door a little too hard. My whole body tensed. I checked the peephole. My mother, my father and Bruna. Not Kyle. Kyle was always the most cowardly. He preferred attacking over text. I opened the door just enough to show my face. We need to talk, my father said, straight to the point, trying to push the door with his shoulder. I held it firmly. We can talk from here. My mother put her hand on her chest, offended. You're going to leave your parents in the hallway, is that it? Just like you left me outside of my own family? Seems fair. Bruna rolled her eyes. My God, so dramatic. My father took a deep breath. Enough, Anna. You've had your fun. You've made everything difficult. Now reopen that account, change that ridiculous name and let's resolve this like adults. You tried to withdraw 10,000 reais without telling me. He shrugged. It's household money. Money that I put there, I corrected. You haven't deposited anything in months. My mother, with that fake sweet tone. Anna, we're going through a hard phase. Your father's shop is slow. I've got credit card bills. We've never denied you anything. I laughed. A short, humorless laugh. Never denied me anything? You denied me respect. In public. For years. Bruna crossed her arms. You've always been over the top. It was just a joke. No one actually kicked you off the trip. You bought the package, didn't you? I asked. Silence. You did, I concluded. And I bet a big chunk of it was going to come from the family account. The look my mother gave my father confirmed everything. He got irritated. And if it was, he exploded. What do you think families live on? Families help, share, split. You're not the fucking owner of the money, Anna. No, I answered, calm. But I am the owner of what comes out of my paycheck. I opened the door a little wider, just enough for them to see me fully, leaning on the frame. I've already paid for car repairs, birthday parties, medicine, food, gas. I've put my name on loans that weren't mine. I've taken out loans to save your credit card bills. I always helped, always. And you thought that included the right to humiliate me and still grab what's mine without asking. My mother tried her last resource, guilt. We only asked so much because we knew we could count on you. You didn't know if you could count on me, I corrected. You knew I didn't know how to say no. My father slapped the door with his open hand. So you're really abandoning us? Is that it? I took a deep breath. No, I'm just returning the favor. And, as carefully as possible, I closed the door. Their voices still came muffled for a few seconds. They knocked, cursed, promised to never look for me again. Then, silence. My neighbors, curious, probably checked their peepholes, I know. But no one opened their doors. Family drama always has a guaranteed audience, but no one wants to take part. I slid down the door until I was sitting on the floor. My hands were shaking. It wasn't anger. It was something bigger, breaking an invisible pact. I'd spent so many years believing it was my obligation to carry everyone that, for a moment, I felt guilty for letting go of the weight. That guilt lasted until I opened my phone and saw the Instagram story Bruna posted to close friends, not knowing I was still on that list. Some people forget they only have a roof over their head, education and a life because of their parents, and then when they make a little money, they think they're above everyone. Toxic family? That's so trendy. What's toxic is this ungrateful generation. I took a screenshot. I didn't reply. I didn't send it to anyone. I just kept it. 2 days later, the hospital received an anonymous complaint. I was treating an elderly patient, guiding breathing exercises, when my boss called me at the door. Anna, can you come to my office for a minute? The hallway seemed to stretch 10 extra meters as I walked there. She offered me a chair. I sat down, my heart already sensing something. This came in today, she said, turning her monitor towards me. An email. Subject: emotionally unstable professional, risk to patients. The text was long, detailed. It said I had aggressive behavior, that I talk bad about the team, that I take personal problems out on patients. It mentioned crying fits and emotional instability. It ended with, "This is not the posture of someone who works in rehabilitation, especially with seniors." I read it all in a silence that sounded like buzzing. My boss, who had known me for 7 years, folded her hands. "I know this doesn't sound like you," she said, "but protocol is protocol. We need to hear your side." I laughed, a nervous, humorless laugh. "My side is simple," I replied. "This came from my family." She raised her eyebrows. "You're sure?" "I am," I said. I recognized the words. Unstable, dramatic, aggressive. It was my mother's basic vocabulary kit. My boss sighed. "HR is going to open a formal process. I'll report what I see here. That you're dedicated, you arrive early, leave late, take on everyone's patients and almost never miss a day. But," she hesitated, "it would be good if you could show you have support. A therapist, psychiatrist, anything that helps disarm this narrative." That phrase stuck. My family had spent years writing the story where I was the crazy, overreacting, ungrateful one. Now they were trying to publish it at my job. I left her office with a paper in my hand. Notice of internal investigation. My signature at the bottom confirmed I was aware. That night, I sat on my bed, the document beside me, and did something I'd been avoiding for years. I called my Aunt Helena. Aunt Helena was the ghost of our family, always mentioned, never invited. When I was a child and asked why we didn't visit her house anymore, the answer was always the same. "Because Helena likes airing dirty laundry in public," my mother would say. "She doesn't know how to be family." As I grew up, the stories about Helena got heavier. "She stole money from your grandmother, she made things up, she's jealous." I never had the courage to ask for Helena's version. Until that night, I found her number in an old paper address book my grandmother had given me before she died. I dialed, my fingers shaking. She picked up on the third ring. "Hello? Hi, Aunt, it's Anna." Silence on the other end. Then, a long, almost relieved sigh. "I figured you'd call someday," she said. I told her, not all at once, but in pieces. The restaurant, the bill, the family account, the withdrawal, the closed door, the complaint at work. She didn't seem surprised at any point. "Your mother told me you were ungrateful and explosive," Helena commented in a neutral tone. "Said she was worried about your mental state." I knew there was something else there. "She talked about me to you?" "Your mother talks about everyone to everyone," Helena said. "That's how she keeps control. She builds an emotional dossier on each person and presents her version as the truth. I've been the crazy one, the thief, the jealous one. Now it's your turn." She asked me to stop by her apartment that week. I said I'd come on Thursday. My aunt's place was in an old building with no elevator, in a farther out neighborhood. I climbed 4 flights of stairs that smelled like cheap cleaning product and old cigarettes. She opened the door before I could knock. Gave me a short, straightforward hug, neither overly affectionate nor cold. "Come in." Her living room was small but cozy. Books everywhere, plants on improvised shelves, a slightly worn sofa, but clean. A light coffee smell. "Sit," she pointed. "Do you like coffee?" I nodded. She brought 2 steaming mugs. "Your mother has always had a talent for emotional manipulation," Helena began, no sugarcoating. "When we were young, she'd make a scene about everything. If my boyfriend looked at her, it was because I stole hers first. If my dad gave me attention, she'd say I was turning him against her. She needed to be the victim in the room. Always." I listened, feeling pieces click into place in a way that was terrifying. "But she never messed with your money, right?" I asked. Helena gave a tight little smile. "Oh, that part one have documentation for." She got up, went to a cabinet, pulled out a cardboard box filled with envelopes. She put everything on the coffee table. This here, she started sorting through papers, is from the day she asked to borrow money from me to help pay for your grandmother's health insurance. She laid a sheet with a high amount in front of me. And this, she showed another, is the plane ticket to Porto Seguro she bought the same day with her husband. Back then, I still believed her stories. Later, I had to learn to file everything. She grabbed another envelope. Here, the transfers I sent her when she said she was going to lose the house because of credit card debts. A series of receipts. Here, photos of her in a casino in the same period. I flipped through everything with a mix of disgust and recognition. Did you show this to the family? I asked. I showed it to your grandfather, your uncle, everyone. You know what they said? That I was exaggerating. That I held grudges. That, it's not exactly like that. She shrugged. I became the problematic aunt. She looked at me firmly. Anna, listen carefully. This family works like a theater. There always has to be an official villain, someone who carries the burden of causing problems. Meanwhile, the rest does whatever they want and protects themselves by saying they're suffering. I felt like crying, but swallowed it down. And what did you do? I asked. With all this? At first, I screamed, kicked, tried to show proof, she said. Then I stopped. Today, the only thing I do is keep my distance. Every now and then, someone wounded comes from in there. Then I offer coffee. She gave me a little smile. I was sure that day, the wounded one was me. And now? I asked, looking at the papers. What do I do with all this? Helena rested her elbow on the arm of the chair and laced her fingers. You have two options. Either you try once again to convince everyone your mother is manipulative and run the risk of becoming the crazy one now. She pointed her chin at me. Or you let them believe whatever they want and focus on protecting your life. How'd I protect it? I asked. She smiled, almost conspiratorial. Starting with the obvious. Cut every financial tie. Close the joint account. Remove your name from whatever you can. Change your passwords. Stop being the family account. Then you think about the emotional part. She paused. And about the complaint at work, do you really want to leave it as is? I blinked. How do you know about the complaint? I don't, she said. I just know the script. Your mother trashed me to the entire family. It wouldn't surprise me if she's doing the same to you where you have the most to lose. I told her about the email. The internal process. The suggestion to prove I had emotional support. Do you have a therapist? Helena asked. No. Then get one. Not because she said you're crazy. But because you need a safe place to put all this without exploding. And also because, she smiled, nothing irritates a manipulator more than seeing the victim build structure. I left her place with a folder of documents, a lawyer's contact, Helena's friend, and a lump in my throat. But for the first time in a long time, that lump wasn't just suffering. It was momentum. The following weeks were a strange mix of chaos and calm. At work, I answered the internal review board's questions with the serenity of someone who at least has a clean conscience. My boss defended me strongly. Colleagues signed a collective statement saying they had never seen any aggressive behavior from me. The complaint began to look like what it was: personal, petty, malicious. Meanwhile, at home, I kept cutting ties. I closed the pay without me account after transferring the little that was left to an account in my name only. I called the bank and removed any authorization my father had. I canceled additional cards. I left a registered email stating that any new movement should be made exclusively by me. At the real estate office, I started the process of removing my name from Kayo's car financing, the one I had signed, just to help, years ago. The lawyer Helena recommended gave me guidance. It's going to hurt. They'll say you're evil, that you want everyone in the streets, that you change. Hang in there. It's the standard script. I got my copy of my parents' house contract, yes, I had signed as a guarantor too, and started the process to get out of that as well. On WhatsApp, my mother's messages became more spaced out. First, came the anger phase: you destroyed the family. Your father can't even sleep anymore. You pretend to be nice to others but are cold with your own mother. Then, the pleading phase: daughter, don't do this to us. I know I overreacted, but I'm only human. Let's talk. The three of us. Like before. Finally, the threat phase: if you abandon us like this, don't come to us when you're sick or alone. Who disowns father and mother has no blessing in life. You'll regret this. I read everything quietly. Sometimes my fingers itched to type a long text full of facts, dates, proof. But I remembered Helena's words. You'll never win against someone who needs to be the victim. The only victory is leaving the play. So I left. I archived the family group. Left individual chats unanswered. Started training the muscle of not reacting. One Saturday morning, while I was folding clean laundry in the living room, the intercom rang. Anna, there's a lady downstairs saying she's your mother, the doorman's voice came through. My heart skipped a beat. Let her up, I answered after a moment. She appeared at my door wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy. She carried a big bag and a carefully worn-out expression. I came in, she said, walking past me without permission. I don't want the neighbors hearing our conversation. She sat on the couch, set her bag on her lap, sighed as if she had just climbed 10 flights of stairs. I don't have much time, she began. Your father's alone at home. I sat at the other end of the couch, keeping a safe distance. What do you want? She took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were slightly red, whether from crying or effort, I couldn't tell. I want peace, she said. I almost laughed. Peace, in my mother's mouth always came wrapped in, do everything my way and don't question it. Peace, I repeated. The family is falling apart, Anna, she went on. Your brother is upset, your sister doesn't speak to you anymore, your father is sick with worry. All because of money. It's not because of money, I replied. It's because of respect. She made a face. Respect? I raised you basically alone for most of your life because your father was always out, and you talked to me about respect? Did you forget who wiped your nose? I took a deep breath. I haven't forgotten anything. Not what you did. Not what you didn't do. Not how you used all that to your advantage whenever you wanted me to feel guilty. She blinked. That seemed to hit her differently. You picked up a bunch of fancy words, huh? Emotional manipulation, toxic family, all that internet stuff, she grumbled. Now everything is trauma. I don't need the internet to know how I feel when I'm humiliated in public, Mom. She waved her hand like shooing a fly. That was a joke. You take everything to heart. It wasn't a joke when you tried to withdraw 10,000 reyes from the account without telling me. It wasn't a joke when someone sent an anonymous email to my job. It wasn't a joke when you barged into my apartment yelling that I was betraying you. Her eyes widened. Barged into your apartment? She repeated. I froze. What? She swallowed. Your father, she began. He thought it would be good to show up by surprise. I told him not to go. He went anyway. Anger shot to my throat. They went there? She insisted. Did they mess with your stuff? They didn't come in, I replied. Because I didn't let them. But if I had let them, I'm sure they would have left telling the whole building I'm crazy. She clutched her bag tighter. I didn't know they'd reported you at work, she murmured suddenly. My heart raced. What do you mean, didn't know? She took a deep breath, eyes dodging mine. Bruna mentioned she was going to find a way to put you in your place, she confessed. I thought it was just talk. She always talks too much. If I had known she was going to hurt you at work, She didn't finish the sentence. I felt hot anger and cold sadness collide inside me. You didn't know because you didn't want to know, I said. Because knowing would mean admitting your kids aren't the perfect victims in your head. She stared at me, offended. And you're perfect? Not even close, I answered. The difference is I'm not trying to destroy anyone's life to avoid owning my mistakes. She leaned back on the couch, exhausted. What do you want, Anna? She asked. Tell me, once and for all, what's the price of this freedom of yours? I stayed quiet for a few seconds. The kitchen clock marked time with an almost audible tick-tock. I want 3 things, I finally said. First, no one in the family uses my name for anything financial. Not as guarantor, not as reference, not as cosigner. Second, you stop talking about my life to others like you're an expert in me. No more, Anna is unstable, Anna is ungrateful, Anna is this or that. If you want to talk about me, talk about my social security number, my bills, then go ahead. I took a breath. Third, if you want contact with me, it will be with respect. No humiliation, no public jokes, no teasing at my expense. There's no trip, car, house, surgery, nothing in the world that's going to drag me back into the punching bag role. She looked at me as if I'd spoken another language. You want us to walk on eggshells around you? No, I corrected. I want you to stop confusing respect with walking on eggshells. She took a long time to answer. And if I can't? She asked, genuinely in a way I'd never seen. I took a deep breath. Then you're going to have to learn how to live without me. She stood up, grabbed her bag, put her sunglasses back on. You'll regret this, she said, her voice cracking. When you're sick, when you're old, when no one else cares about you, you'll remember the day you sent your own mother away. I opened the door. And you, Mom, will remember the day you showed me you were capable of choosing pride over change. She walked past me without meeting my eyes. The smell of her perfume lingered in the air for a few seconds after the door closed. I sat down at the kitchen chair and stared at nothing for a while. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up online banking, and checked, for the last time, the name of the closed account, Pay Without Me. I smiled to myself. This time, it wasn't irony. It was freedom. 2 months later, the internal process at the hospital was officially closed. Complaint dismissed due to lack of evidence, positive reports from the team and conduct history consistent with the position. My boss called me into her office. I knew this was something from outside, she said, giving a small smile. And honestly, if anyone here is stable, it's you. I left lighter than I walked in. That same day, I signed the lease on a new apartment on a quieter street, with a big window that faced the canopy of a tree. The rent was a bit higher, but I'd made a spreadsheet with Helena and my therapist. It was doable, and more important, it was mine. No family account, no extra names on the contract, no hidden debt. On moving week, Emily came over to help box things up. Have you noticed that since you turned off the faucet, all those emergency requests vanished? She commented while wrapping plates in newspaper. I paused, thinking. You're right, I replied. My mother stopped showing up at the door. My father didn't try calling anymore, or if he did, I didn't answer. Bruna posted indirect comments on social media for a while, then got bored. Kaio disappeared completely. Sometimes I saw his name in some extended family group, but to me, he became as abstract as the memory of a house I no longer lived in. In the new apartment, the first night was strangely quiet. No message vibration at 2 in the morning asking for money. No crying call over an overdue bill. No feeling that someone, somewhere, was about to charge me with something. I lay down on the mattress, still without a bed frame, looked up at the freshly painted ceiling with no mold stains and thought, so this is it. Peace. Not romantic peace, like in a margarine commercial. Real peace. Clean floor, bank statement without surprises, silent phone, heart less frantic. The following week, my therapist asked me a question. Do you feel homesick? I took a while to answer. I do. I began, choosing my words. But not for what it was. I miss a family I invented in my head. A father who supported me, a mother who listened, siblings who saw me as an equal. That family never existed. There were people using that title to keep me available. I miss the idea, not the daily reality. She jotted something down in her notebook. And guilt? Less than I thought I would, I admitted. When I look at the screenshots, the messages, the proof of everything I did, the guilt shrinks. And something else grows, pity. Not for them, for my old self, for the girl who thought she had to pay to deserve love. She smiled. And today? What do you think you need to deserve love? I thought about the sunny apartment, the bank balance in the black, Aunt Helena having coffee with me on Sundays, Emily laughing at my bad joke in the kitchen, an elderly patient calling me, my daughter, in the hospital hallway, my own voice saying, no, and not dying because of it. I started, that it's not about deserving. It's about choosing to stay where there is respect. 3 months after the move, I went to the supermarket on a Saturday morning and saw my father in the checkout line. He was holding a basket, rice, beans, some cans, a pack of cookies. He looked smaller than I remembered. More receding hairline, deeper eye bags. He saw me first. For a second, I thought about pretending I hadn't seen him. But there was a 6-year-old girl in the arms of the woman in front of him, looking at me with such curiosity that ignoring the moment would have required a level of denial I no longer had. Hi, Dad, I said, approaching slowly. He took a few seconds to answer. Anna. That, Anna, sounded different. Without the weight of, you owe us everything, without the arrogance of, you're nothing without us. It was just my name. Bear. It's been a while, he said. Yeah, I replied. Silence. The beep of the barcode scanner filled the gaps between one sentence and another. He cleared his throat. Your mother has been saying, he began, but stopped. Well, you know how she is. I didn't respond. He went on. He lowered his voice a bit. Didn't know Bruna had sent that email to your job. I only found out later. I chewed her out. Not that it does much, right? He tried a shy smile. I sighed. And the 10,000 withdrawal attempt? Did you know about that? This time, he didn't try to lie. I did, he admitted. We thought that, like always, you'd understand. That it was, for the family. Understand that you were going to use my money for a trip I wasn't welcome on. He lowered his eyes. You have reason to be angry, he said. I would be too. Maybe even more. I wasn't expecting to hear that. Your grandfather was like that with me too, he blurted, suddenly. He'd make jokes in front of others, say I was good for nothing, that your uncle was the one who mattered. One day, he humiliated me so much at a barbecue that I walked out and didn't step foot in his house for 2 years. I went back when he was already sick. He acted like nothing had happened. And we never really talked. He looked at me. I thought that, as a father, I'd be different, he said. But I repeated half the stuff without noticing. The rest I repeated because, deep down, it was easier to blame you than face my own failure. It hurt to hear, failure, from him. It hurt because it was true. I'm not going to ask you to come back, he continued. Or to open an account, or to pay anything. I just, he searched for words. Wanted you to know I'm at least trying to see what I did. I took a deep breath. 5 months ago, I would have fallen apart right there. Run to hug him. Promise, it's okay, that, family is like that. I would have offered help, money, cheap forgiveness. In that supermarket line, though, I knew something new. Empathy doesn't require relapse. I'm glad you're thinking about that, I replied honestly. But I need you to understand something. Just because you regret it doesn't mean I'm obliged to go back to where I left. He nodded slowly. I know, he said. I don't have that right anymore. The line moved. He placed his groceries on the conveyor belt. I stood there, unsure whether to walk away or help bag them. For some reason, I grabbed a bag and started packing what went through. Rice, beans, cans, cookies. A mechanical, old gesture. He gave a half smile. Some things never change, huh? They do, I corrected. Today I pack the bag because I want to. Not because I owe it. He took the bags, balancing the weight. If you ever want to talk, he said, without insistence. I'll be there. Same place as always. The door will be open. But no joint accounts, I promise. I laughed lightly. If I ever want to talk, I'll go because I want to. Not because guilt pushed me. He nodded, respectful. And for the first time, he turned his back without throwing a sentence meant to keep me hooked. I watched him walk away, bag swinging, posture a little bent. Felt a lump in my throat. But this time, the lump didn't come with the urge to run back. It came with the certainty that if, someday, I chose to get closer, it would be standing tall, not on my knees. That night, I sat on my apartment balcony with a mug of tea in my hand, the distant city noise rising like a hum. I grabbed my phone, opened my banking app out of habit. The home screen now showed only my accounts. My name, my ID, no family account, no additional cardholder, no unknown card. Available balance, 1.243 Brazilian reals, 27. Not much, not little. It was what I had and, for the first time, it wasn't tied up in holes that weren't mine. I closed the app and opened my notes app. I typed, family isn't the people who make you pay to belong. Family is the people who don't charge admission for you to sit at the table. I reread the sentence, wondering if it was too dramatic. Maybe it was. Maybe not. It was mine. I looked up at the dark sky, no stars visible, just the reflection of city lights. I thought about the family account, now closed, that had once been my guilt altar. I thought about the name I'd given it, Pay Without Me. I smiled. I thought about all the people, strangers, who might be right then feeling the weight of being the family problem solver. Carrying joint accounts, debt, secrets, humiliation, all in the name of a title that never came with respect. And there, on that simple balcony, with my chest finally a little lighter, I knew. My story didn't end on the day they cut me from the trip. Or the day I closed the account. Or the day I ran into my father in the supermarket line. My story restarted every time I said no to what destroyed me and yes to what built me. Family, to me, stopped being an automatic obligation. It became a place I choose, not a place I was thrown into. If they ever want to find me on this side, they'll have to show up barefoot of pride, with no handout asking for a card, no open pocket begging for a loan, no ready-made joke begging for applause. And if they never come, that's okay. Because I finally learned the biggest lesson no one at home ever taught me. Sometimes, liberation isn't screaming enough. Sometimes, it's just looking at the bill, the statement, the mirror and saying, in a low, firm voice, pay without me. Live without using me. For the first time, I'm going to live for me.